Here are 5 products from China that I would definitely buy again. And one product that I'm not quite so sure about. Guys, welcome back to the What Life. Let's roll. There's a whole host of products and components coming out of China that are shaking up the bike market a little bit. And it can be hard to discern which ones are good quality and good value and which ones you're going to spend your money on and perhaps regret it a little bit. I've been using certain components and certain bike tech that have come out of China for a while now, and I thought I'd share my top 5 with you. We're going to rank these, so we'll start with the cheapest first and we'll work our way up. There are a few things that I have been so impressed with over the last 6 months, but I've been using a couple of these products for at least 2 years. We're going to kick things off with the cheapest product on the list, which is this. It's a Magine L308 bike light. It's super simple, it's small, it's nice, and for some reason it just brings me so much joy when I use it because you can just change the little patterns on the screen. I don't know why this brings me so much joy. It's £30 on Amazon. It also has a sensor in it, so if you brake hard, it should, never really been able to tell because I've always been riding my bike, it should increase the illumination for 3 seconds. So it effectively acts as a brake light, but just the simple fact that you can change all the little patterns that show on the screen, my simple mind just absolutely loves it. And I have a few favorites in there, but riding around London with a little heart on your brake light, I don't know, just for me seems a little bit ironic and I love it. Might be worth pointing out that it just uses a simple Garmin mount that is provided in the box when you buy it, that just goes onto your seat post and clips in. So in some ways, these next 2 products go hand in hand. And there's a reason why I actually really like these. And they are these spindle-based power meters that are coming out of China at the moment. Most of them, and there are a few different options that you can choose from, are accurate to at least 1%. Most of them have between 250 to 350 hours of use time. I'll tag a couple down below, but I have used 2 of them. One of them is this one, the XKD, and the other one is a Magine-based power meter. I think it's the P515. Both are pretty lightweight. I think the Magine one is just slightly a little bit lighter than the XKD one, but here's why I like them. Lots of brands in the Western world have made their tech or their components quite proprietary. So if you run a SRAM group set, sometimes your spindle-based power meter is completely tied into the chainring. So if you want to change the chainring but keep the power meter, you have to send off the power meter in the chainring to SRAM for them to change it. That doesn't really work for me. And I'll be honest, it's not that I change chainrings that often, but I do want the ability to change a chainring. This is why I like these. And again, we'll address power pedals and other things like that in a second. Shimano doesn't actually make a spindle-based power meter. Now, the nice thing about this one and the Magine, which is on the bike behind me, is that both of them are compatible with Shimano chainrings. If you were to try and put a power meter on a Shimano, you have 2 options, which is you use a crank-based one, in which case you are literally attaching a power meter to a crank and you can't change crank length at any point. Again, simple point, you might not ever want to change crank length, but it's nice to have the option. The other option would be power pedals, which does make a lot of sense. But the problem with power pedals is they have to be calibrated. If you go away and travel with them, you've got to go and reset the calibration. If you change crank length, you have to change that. It's not that it's a huge fuss, but it's a lot more of a fuss than using a spider-based power meter that you can basically put on your bike, set up, and just ride around on. The nice thing about these power meters is that you can swap them in and out with any manufacturer that you want. If you are running Shimano, they can fit into the Shimano chainrings. If you are running SRAM, then you can buy cranks and spindles that will fit the SRAM dub system and then fit in a power meter. So that's what I like about them, is that it makes your whole drivetrain interchangeable. It means you can change every component at each stage, one step at a time, and nothing is tied into the other. I can't sit here and complain about SRAM having a chainring that is attached to a power meter and then say that having a power meter that's attached to a crank, in Shimano's case, if you put like a 4i on or something, it doesn't make sense. I want everything to be able to be removed and replaced if it ever needed to be. I found these really reliable. The 330 hours that I've got out of the Magine one that I'm running on my Winspace T1550 at the moment has been great. The only problem was that setting it up, for some reason, you have to enter your email into an app for it to activate, which I guess in some senses from a product marketing point of view might make sense, but from a user perspective, it just felt a bit unnecessary. I wanted it to work straight out of the box, had to download the app, enter my email, activate the product, and then I'm good to go. But that was all that was needed. So for me, these spider-based power meters are 2 thumbs up, because in the case of SRAM, it means that you have components that are just interchangeable if you want to change a chainring. And in the case of Shimano, it means that you don't have to use power pedals, which can fail at times. I have a lot of friends that have had power pedals that have always seemed to have issues and needing replacing, or you don't have to attach an actual sensor to a crank by sending it away and having it fitted and then you get it back. At number 3 on the list, we have carbon fiber cranks. So typically, from what I've seen come out of China, there are 2 things that I would consider when looking or purchasing a carbon crank or any crank. First is like, how do they look on the bike? It's important for me to have a nice looking bike, and it might be for you too. But obviously, second, you want something that's light and performs very well. Now, in the last 5 or 6 months, there have been, and I think you're going to see a lot of these come out next year, which is these carbon fiber cranks. I have 2 sets. This set I bought, which cost me about $660 with a chainring and a power meter, but they are just so gorgeous. And it seems like at the moment that there is basically manufacturers out there that are making these carbon-based cranks that are then white labeling it for other brands. The 2 that I'd recommend specifically are this one, which is the Sprill PazQuest carbon crank, and the Magine TEO crank. I'm not 100% sure whether the TEO Magine crank is available in the UK just yet, but I have it built up on my T1550. These are lightweight, and both of these come in various sizes as you'd expect from any crank manufacturer. But the nice thing about the Sprill one, which is you can get it in a 24mm spindle or a 29. So basically you can run it whether you have a Shimano or whether you have a SRAM. At the moment, the Magine one is only available in a SRAM dub spindle. So you can only use it if you are running a SRAM or if you're running a dub-based bottom bracket. Now, both of these are absolutely gorgeous. They're slightly different, and I'm seeing a lot of carbon cranks coming out of China at the moment. These are the 2 that I have, and it was a tough choice between the 2 of these as to which one I was going to put on my bike. Both of them are dub-based cranks with a dub-based spindle, but I did want to check out the quality of the power meter on the Magine one so that I could give you some feedback, and we're halfway through doing that. I haven't quite got there just yet. I think we're going to see a lot of carbon fiber cranks coming out of China in the next 12 to 16 months. It seems like it's one of those things that they've got their teeth into in terms of manufacturing at the moment, and factories seem to be white labeling it for lots of different brands. The Magine one that comes with a power meter is around £550. I got the PazQuest one, as I mentioned, when I bought a crank, chainring, and a power meter for $670, I think it was. So I'll try and figure out what the cranks are or what they cost on an individual basis. But the way they look is really good. And I think the nice thing about it is that sometimes products that come out of China can not necessarily be as aesthetically pleasing. Maybe by the nature of the fact that they are carbon fiber, the fact that they taper from one end to the other, and both of them do this. I'm really happy with it, and combining it with a spider-based power meter, I don't know, I feel like I've got a really good setup that's completely interchangeable at the moment on my bike. If you ever wanted to swap out for a shorter set of cranks, just wouldn't be a problem, other than the fact that I'd probably have to pay another 300 quid. As a side note, whilst we are talking about cranks, There are the aluminium version of the machine cranks. Now these ones actually come with a Shimano spindle. So if you were running a Shimano group set and you wanted to get yourself a spider-based power meter, you could actually get the PES cranks power-based spider meter and then just take out your old Shimano cranks and replace it. And these would work with a Shimano chainring. So they'd be the only part of your drivetrain that you'd have to change, which I think is quite handy. However, as I said, the design of these and the look of these is just slightly different, or very different, from the way that the carbon fiber ones are made. And I just love the clean look of the carbon fiber cranks. So I'm kind of leaning onto just how good looking those carbon fiber cranks are. And that's why they've made it onto the list. So we're a bit outside the box with number 2 on the list, which is the Hover Pro Max. Not a bike component, not a bike computer, but it's something that I found myself using so much. And I know not everyone is interested in shooting media or getting pictures or video whilst they're out cycling. But I found myself as a creator just using this all the time. If I go away, I kind of make sure that I try and take it on almost every ride. The nice thing about it is that it is just about small enough to fit into your back jersey. I took this out to the Alps, I've taken it out to Mallorca, and the reason I like it is because it's so easy to use. It's a simple one press button, up it goes, and it will follow you, and then once you've finished, it will come and land back in the palm of your hand. Now, I don't like faffy tech. I like my tech to be simple and easy to use. And that's why I found this just like really enjoyable. And if it was too much of a faff, I wouldn't use it as much as I do. The nice thing about it is that I've used it to get group selfies. I've used it on a ride where we are all in a video at the same time. And normally if you're out riding, then there's always got to be someone that's taking the video. Whereas with this, it kind of changes the game a little bit, but it's not necessarily that cheap. You have 2 options, which is the X1 Pro and the X1 Pro Max. What's the difference? Well, the Pro Max shoots at a slightly higher quality, some slightly slower frame rates. I'm going to be completely honest with you and just say that you probably only need the X1 Pro because most of the time I'm putting this content like on social or it's going onto YouTube and I'm not slowing it down. So I don't need the capacity to shoot slow-mo in 4K or shoot vertical video. I know that I can basically just shoot it and edit it down any way you need. The ability of the drones is exactly the same. They have the same battery life. They have the same top high speed when following you. They have the same functionality. The difference is that one will store a bit more data on its hard drive, both of which you can put little memory cards in up to 1 terabyte. So you can go out and shoot into your heart's content. The difference is that you can shoot on 8K on the Pro Max and you can't do that on the Pro. And also you can shoot at some slightly higher frame rates on the Pro Max. Is it necessary? I'm going to leave that up to you. Now, this is definitely a product that you do not need, but I'd say it's a product that you should want because it makes it so easy. And being out in Mallorca and cycling with a buddy, I was just able to whack it up and get some really good memories. And that's what it's about. Don't think about it as being like vanity based or needing it to try and create content that the whole world is going to see. Just think about it as being able to create good memories that you get to go home and show your friends and family, just the people that genuinely do care about seeing the stuff that you do. And I found it really easy. So that's why this makes it up to number 2 on the list. The Pro model is, I think it's like $350, but then the Pro Max model jumps up to $600 odd. I'll obviously put the prices on the screen. So not necessarily cheap kit, but from my perspective, like I found it a lot of good fun. And I would genuinely recommend it just because it's so easy to use in a pretty simple follow mode, and you get really enjoyable content that I quite enjoy showing people. And it doesn't make YouTube content that often mostly just me showing friends and family cycling around different places. It's definitely a big tick from me when it comes to the Hover Air. So number one on the list is this, which is the Elite Drive 2. Okay, so the wheel industry out of China is developing like at a really high rate. They're all just pushing their internal widths a little bit wider and kind of keeping up with the trend. And that's the one thing that China has always been very good at, is they are very reactionary to the comments and the current trends of what's happening in the bike industry. A good instance of that is the fact that most of them will use the straight pull spoke system, whereas 12 months ago, I remember most wheels coming out of China would have the side pull system where it would just slot in and use the tension of the spoke itself to hold it in place. That's completely changed now, and most of the high-end wheel manufacturers out of China are now using a straight pull hub system. Now, why is this particular wheel made it to number one on the list? Well, it's very simple. A lot of wheels coming out of China have hub systems that use the old DT Swiss model that the patent ran out of. And this one, that's just the spring, I wouldn't worry about it. So this has a slightly different ratchet system. And I believe Mr. Hambini did a video on this the other day. This one has a conical ratchet system. And I'll show you what that means, which is these two little ratchets come apart and one will just fit into the other with a slight cone shaped on the ratchet itself. And it's different to all the other DT Swiss style hubs that are coming out of China at the moment. It makes for a slightly different sound. I'd be interested to, when I get a chance to ride these, because these are going on a new bike that I'm building up soon, be interested to see whether it affects the engagement of the hub. It does mean that you use a slightly different hub body, but I thought that was very interesting. For me, I like the fact that brands like Elite are willing to develop products like this, and I have a suspicion that a few other wheel manufacturers might end up following suit with a similar design. But for now, this is the only hub body that I've seen coming out of China that is running this hub system. Hopefully it will make the engagement a little bit firmer, a little bit better, a little bit quicker, I guess. For me, I'm not sure that's going to change much. I don't think I could ever enter a race and blame the ratchet engagement on why I'm not winning it. But all the same, I think the development of the product's interesting. I like to see it, and hopefully it changes the way that it sounds. Looking forward to putting these on my new Windspace SLC that I'm building up in a few weeks. Should look pretty good. I'll throw the complete stats for this whole wheel set up on screen so that you can see things like weight, the width of the spokes, internal, external rim widths, thing like that. But Elite have been making really good wheels for 10 years now. It was their anniversary the other day. So it's cool to see the development, and something that I think that's going to look awesome on a bike. Hopefully makes me a little bit quicker. So I have a lot of contact with brands coming out of China, and the rate at which they are developing is genuinely really impressive. Sometimes it does feel a little bit like they use their customer as a bit of a test survey as to the quality of the product, but at the same time, that is what has helped them develop incredibly quickly. I think things like the power meters and the cranks are actually going to be a little bit of a game changer when it comes to the whole industry, because we are going to be seeing more complete group sets coming out of China over the next 12 months. I'm pretty sure Magine are going to be making one. I'm pretty sure that Wheeltop are going to be updating theirs. I'm not very clued in on companies like L2, but I'd be surprised if they're not following suit. The fact that these guys are now making high quality carbon fiber cranks, you combine that with being able to produce the group sets, you are going to be able to buy complete group sets out of China that I think might end up shaking up a little bit of the Western world when it comes to group set manufacturers. And it's going to be really interesting, and I'm just genuinely curious to see how this all kind of shapes out. There is one product that I would probably think twice about buying again, not because I don't like it, but there is a very specific reason that I do like it, which is the wheeltop road group set that I've been running on the T1550. Now let me be very clear, I do like this group set, but the reason I like it is very specific. The reason I like it is because I have it on my racing bike, which basically means that I bought it and put it on that bike because I wanted to have a group set, or an upgraded group set, because they only do the brake calipers, the levers, the front and the rear derailleur. I wanted to have a group set that was easy to replace if anything went wrong. So the goal of using that was not to try and put on a really high value, high cost group set. Otherwise you just try and buy a Dura Ace or a SRAM Red, because I didn't want to, if anything did happen, have to spend extortionate amounts of money to replace any one component. And with Wheeltop, you can actually go online and buy each part individually. I can replace the levers with carbon fiber brake levers for $150, or the non-carbon version for like $110 each, which is pretty handy considering what I'm using it for. I really hope I don't end up in a crash at any point, but if I did, it would mean that I could get a replacement rear derailleur pretty quickly, independently, and I wouldn't have to buy any other paraphernalia, and it's not as expensive as it would be if I was to buy a Western World one. I haven't had any problems with indexing it or the quality of the ride. The one thing that I am a little bit hesitant about is the fact that the levers themselves are not designed for slightly bigger hands. Now, I like to wrap my little finger round the brake levers and then try and get low on my bars at certain points during a race, and it just does not give much lever to sit in the palm of my hand. You might not really worry about that too much, that's fine, but that's just something that I have found. The other thing is that it has a race mode and then a normal mode, which basically implies that the ability of the shifting is always potentially can be better and faster and firmer, which would be the race mode. So you are being downgraded on the basis of having better battery life when you are using it just regularly. Again, not the biggest problem in the world. I haven't had any problems with the shifting after indexing it. And the nice thing is that you can index each individual gear on its own. So on the rear derailleur, you can change every single indexing along the cog, rather than when you index a SRAM or a Shimano derailleur where you have to move the whole thing up and down. So even though the possibilities are endless, I have found it really good for that reason. Just it's not the highest end group set that you could get, but it fits my needs. So would I buy it again? Yeah, but in a very specific circumstance. I think down the line it's going to improve and get better and better, and they've already updated the brake calipers to the ones that I have on my bike. So again, just more proof that the development of these companies is happening really, really fast. And that's what I'm enjoying about having these conversations with brands out in China, because I think they are going to be producing some really high quality products, and we're going to have to really change the way that we think about some of the stuff that comes out of Asia, especially when, a lot of this, like the PazQuest and a few other of the components, are available on AliExpress. It's going to take a bit of a mindset change to accept that some of the stuff that's coming out there is really comparable, and if not better, than some of the stuff that's being made out in the Western world. Guys, if you found this interesting, or if you run any of these components, or if there's any components that you think that are being made out in China or Asia that are really high value, high quality, then please do let me know, and maybe we'll have a chat about them another time. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you on another one soon.